This is really trippy.
Hello there. It's Brian again, and this is Dad Say No More's podcast, Fathering Insights. Today, I have my oldest daughter, Brantley. She's with us today. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself, and then we're going to talk about from the beginning to end what she has seen and how she's seen our family kind of grow as both parents and as just our way of raising each other. And I say each other because I learned a lot from my children, and I think that's a big part of fatherhood is realizing that you're going to learn a lot from each one of your children, and each child's different, and they all have independent thoughts, and they kind of just teach you their own lessons. But Brantley, go ahead.
So like you said, my name's Brantley. Um, the oldest of six?
Oldest of seven.
Seven.
You have six siblings.
Six.
Well, if you ask your mom, the second of eight, but
See, I can't even keep track. I'm 19 and not in school, just working.
so you did follow your passions into you really enjoy animals and you really like to help out with pets and you're working at Petco
Mm,
right now, so
yeah.
um, and she's also gone to school to become a phlebotomist, but she decided to try something different before she tries to settle down into one career path. And I think working with animals is something she really enjoys, so that's what she does now, right?
Mm, it's pretty fun.
Animals cool, people not so much.
Yeah, they can be kind of mean.
So let's kind of discuss your childhood starting from the beginning, right? And kind of like how did you see your parents when you were really young? What around what age did you start having your first memories?
mm, I think the earliest memory I have was in a grocery store. I think I was about 3, but that doesn't pertain. Um, but I think when I really started to pick up on like things that y'all were teaching us and things going on around me, I think was um maybe five,
Okay.
5 or 6.
Yeah. So what were you like as parents at 5?
So I honestly didn't pay that much attention, but I think at the time you were still in nursing school, weren't you? I can't remember.
No, I would have been over nursing school. I was finished my first course before that, but I was going to college classes on a regular basis to help me get the prerequisites in order to go on to my BSN school.
That's what it was. So yeah, you were always you were more closed off during that time. Just because of school, not in bad reason. Um but that's when you started implementing principles, at least in me. Cuz I remember when you would help me read Oliver Twist and then we would talk about like the principles in that story. Um and it was during that time it was kind of more of taking the information that you gave me, trying to apply it to different world scenarios, whether that information applied or not, um, and more about listening to people. During that time, is it's definitely when I became more in tune with other people's emotions.
Right.
That's when I started to learn that.
So Brantley's being really kind about this situation. When I was younger, I was really busy with working, and then I would go do classes too because I didn't want to spend my career as being an enlisted soldier. I wanted to actually be able to expand myself into an officer role because I wanted to provide a better future for my kids. And I was very stressed out. I was dealing with a lot of death and dying at work. And as much as I kept those two worlds separate, the stress of the two worlds always collided. And with that, we were more authoritarian, I think, when she was really young. And it was when I started realizing that my authoritarianism, not because it was intentional, but unintentionally, because I wasn't focused on being a good father necessarily. I was more focused on being a good provider. That I was raising children that I did not necessarily believe that I had the ability to like critically through, think. Like when you start talking about the end in mind or the what your end goal is, I want my children to be able to critically think their way through life. So instead of being authoritarian and telling them, "Hey, you have to do this because I said so," it was more of I need to start teaching them ways to like think for themselves. And I changed my approach from being like, yes, you're going to do this because this is what dad says, to okay, this is a story. This is an example. This is something that we can learn from. Let's see what principles and lessons that we can pick up on. And I tried to get them to focus on themselves and bring it on their own. And then I just help them polish up their ideas as they went. So, and I would say five. If Brantley started noticing that at five, she was actually well ahead of where I was being intentional about it. Um, it probably took me a good, probably I would say about 7 or 8 before I became really intentional about my fatherhood and about actually being there and actually giving them the small deposits to them, making sure that they had those happy moments to go off with everything else. And it was also at that age that I really started focusing on lessons and values and teaching that and teaching principles and using stories to teach principles instead of trying to just tell them what and to think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I would say when I was in BSN school, I mean, I was absent again, but I still try to take some time to hang out with them. We would do things more family related than it was individual related, even though we did have individual moments. Do you want to talk about Walter?
Oh well, there. So when did we get him? We got him in Missouri, and
Right,
then we took him to Maryland.
right.
So Walter was he was a cat that we got from a friend. He was a Himalayan, but he was more gray and black. Um,
Beautiful and a nice cat.
oh yeah. He had like these crazy blue eyes, and he always liked Dad for some reason. Anytime Dad was in his office in the basement, he would go with Dad and just sit there with him and just let Dad pet him.
And I spent a lot of time there because I was studying through nursing school, and so there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of time down there, especially when it came close to the NCLEX. I was out down there for hours just practicing questions and reviewing information. So,
Um, but that was fun, and he actually ended up. Can I talk about that?
hmm
Um, and oh gosh, I lost everything.
it's all right. Someday you'll find those marbles.
Someday. I don't have a basket for them yet. They just keep going everywhere. Okay, so I told him they were in Maryland.
Yeah. So we're in Maryland. Walter stayed with me when he could. That's part of the story, right? But when we got there, he was with us for a long time. We really enjoyed Walter. Matter of fact, Walter's been on national news before. Beautiful cat. May, anyhow, Walter got sick, and I think this was one of those moments where Brantley like realized always had that love and that interaction with animals. She's the only young lady I know that's basically catch any type of animal in the wild. She's had wild rabbits come up to her, and she's been able to hold them and pet them, and she's had like birds that would fly into her hands. I mean, she's like a walking princess from Disney. Um, Except she has a living mother. Um,
You mean a living dad and not like a crazy mother.
oh, okay. She has both living parents. So anyhow, she's always just had this gentle way with animals, and she's always been the one that like try to nurse all the animals to life, um, try to make sure that they're okay. And Walter was this moment where she realized that sometimes there wasn't so much that we can do for every animal. We couldn't make every animal better, right?
Mm.
He was starting to have kidney failure, and the life that he was looking at living would have been many treatments of peritoneal dialysis and shots, and we just did not think Walter was going to have a good life. Walter was pretty miserable compared, like he's shown a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort compared to what he was when he was healthier. So we decided to euthanize him, and Brantley was the one child that was really wanted to be part of that and that experience. You want to tell him about that experience?
So when we found out that we had to get Walter euthanized, it sucked. Yeah. And like all of us cried. We all did. Um, I don't know if you cried. I can't remember.
I wasn't much of a crier. I mean, I pretty much just shut off all emotions. This was before my dad died and my two worlds collided. So up to this point, I really was kind of boxed up all emotions and set them aside and or to continue to do what I need to do because I had to continue to work and I had to continue to be, the hero in some sense. I would say the person that everyone looks to for comfort. When you're a nurse, that's kind of like the role you have to play. So you really kind of just hide your own emotions so much, and I was so used to that movement or that way of doing it that I was not in tune with crying as much as I probably could have been. But I still try to support my family by supporting their emotions. Like I played that role not only at work, but I played that role at home, being the strong presence when others were feeling emotions.
And piggybacking off of that, when the day came that we had to get Walter euthanized, like I did not want to just take Walter there or just someone to take him there and just leave. I had to be there. He was my cat. I had to. Um my mom was way too heartbroken to go, and so it was a little daddy daughter date to go
Right.
euthanize our cat. Which I'm sorry. Um and so we took him to the vet. We like said our goodbyes and they took him into the back room. If I had known at this time that you could go back there with them, I would have.
But from there, you were kind of upset. So what did we do next that kind of helped it?
So after we left the vet's office, I was distraught. I was like looking out the back windshield. I was sobbing. Um, but because we were in Maryland, we found this really nice diner I say a while back, but we found this nice diner and they had amazing red velvet cake. And so we had a little daddy daughter date after it, which it was actually really nice. When we were there, we were talking about, all the fun times that we had with Walter and like just kind of how I was feeling cuz I hadn't really experienced loss like that, especially with a pet because he was our first one other than Fish. Um and it was hard because that was the first time that like when you get a pet as a kid, it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be forever." But once he was gone, it was kind of like I was entering a different world because I was like, I don't have my cat. I'm gonna cry.
Which is a great way of describing it as a child. They kind of see it like it's a whole new world. As adults, I think we recognize that we're reaching for a new normal. When someone dies or someone we're close to or an animal, it's not so much we're going into a new world. We're still in the same world, but they're no longer there. So it's a whole new normal that we're reaching for. A small break for some emotions to like pass. Um, Brantley's doing great, by the way.
I'm fine.
She she has a real heart for animals. She always has, and she has the same heart for human beings too. But she just big heart, big feelings, right?
Yeah, I'm a little sensitive.
And it's all right. It's part of who she is, and it's part of her character, and it's part of who she's grown into as a young woman. But the importance of that story, I think, is there was no plan for us to go out to eat afterwards. There was no plan for that second part to happen. But here we took something that was incredibly sad and we took the time to like grieve together over this animal. And it's a memory that a lot of times when we talk about it or we talk back about it, is that feeling of being safe because you knew somebody was there to support you that really helped her. So when she faces tragedies later on, she has that memory to kind of help her with. Do you think that has helped?
Oh yeah, because even though you didn't give me like this big spiel about loss, it was still like your actions spoke for it. And so your actions spoke better than, you could have told me. And it, instead of being told how to deal with my loss, I was comforted, and then like I was able to work through it myself. Which, I mean, it may have been hard as like a little girl, but I think it was something that was needed because me still being as sensitive as I am today, it kind of helps me cope with that or the feelings that I get. And so,
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to tell somebody that you shouldn't feel a certain way, or tell somebody, God doesn't want you to feel that way, or
yeah.
those words, right? Those words that where we tell them what our beliefs are, or we can give them time to talk about their feelings and their own emotions and help them find their own path to back to normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
To their new normal. Um, Very important. That's the whole idea of like empathetic listening and why empathy works is because it's very important to allow them, the person who's going through the feelings, to feel the feelings and to show them that you're paying enough attention to at least understand what they're feeling. You don't have to share the feelings with them, but you have to understand what the feelings are. And when you understand the feelings, you can portray that. They understand that you're listening, you're communicating with them. They can see the support in that.
I think you guys really started to get into like the empathetic listening and like I don't know, like mindfulness of other people. I don't know, like the way you handle other people's emotions with your own. Like not handling their emotions, but like you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll understand too.
Me too. Um so when they started, integrating more of this social aspect to it, it wasn't so much, okay, I'm learning how to think for myself. It's I'm learning how uh, these actions or these principles or these morals affect the people around me. And so,
Go ahead. I have horrible back and shoulder pain, so I have to adjust myself on a regular basis. Um,
um, but once the social aspect started getting integrated, it was definitely another hurdle. But once I started to get the hang of it and stopped like letting it hang over me and kind of just let it do its thing, experiment with it, it opened up like this whole new door of how like I view people. Like working in retail, for example. It's so easy to get irritated with a customer, right?
and sometimes rightfully so. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, definitely. I've um
there's justification to irritation.
yes. But with the mindset that I was taught how to use and just now it's my everyday mindset, it's they're humans. They're gonna have feelings too. You don't know what's going on in their life, so why the hell do you want to?
That's fine.
So what? How do I say this? What are you gonna get out of making someone's day worse? Like that's the first thing that comes into my head if like I'm losing patience or like I'm just getting super irritated with this person. I think because I'm not a patient person with family. It's just their family. That sounds mean. I don't like that.
Well, we cut it.
There's a little bit more leeway with family, so you can get on their nerves. They're not gonna go anywhere. But with, like a stranger, it's I'm so bad at wording stuff. Ugh. I struggle wording it because
You don't come off sounding mean.
yeah, that and like um
But there's nothing mean about telling that the truth hurts sometimes. The truth hurts sometimes, right? But there's nothing mean about telling the truth. So what people get, they think that when you cause pain, when you tell the truth, that you're doing something hurtful. And the opposite is absolutely the truth. It's actually right. Sometimes you got to say those mean things that you see as mean or those hurtful truths in order for somebody to understand that what they're doing is hurting them in the long run. Because in this situation, when people come up to you and they're mean to you at Petco, right? What they're doing is that they're showing their pain to you or they're showing their desire to have power over you. But that is hurtful to you. So now instead of ever being able to use you or come back to you and have that like good feeling about it, that I want to be on your team about it. Once you build those bad feelings in somebody, they're forever there. You can't get rid of them. And every time Brantley sees that individual again in the same store in the same position, she's going to be reminded of those times. And it's not that she doesn't want to help you, but internally, she has this internal part of her that's going to say, this person is not somebody who you want to help because they're just going to be mean to you. And that's that lose lose mentality that people go through that ends up just destroying relationships before they even start.
And I'm a huge people pleaser. So it's really hard for me to actually voice my own opinion over someone. That's kind of why I choose kindness more often, because sometimes I don't have the guts to stand up to someone. Um, but that's something I'm working on because
And big part of that
yeah,
is a big part of that like feeling is she's been paying attention and she's been watching me go through my military career and she's watched me be very gingerly around people of high ranks even though I know that what they're doing is either wrong or inappropriate or it could be done better. And she's like, if my dad can't even stand up to these people, at least this is my view on it, right? This is where her um, inability to stand up for herself actually comes from me, right? If I can't stand up to the people even because of their rank, she feels like anytime a person ends in front of her, she shouldn't stand up to him either because you should show him the same kindness and love and that I try to show my leaders, even when they were abusive to me or when they were trying to be hard. They were doing things that were damaging to our lives or the lives of other soldiers. Um, we just kind of did our thing that the best we can and kept moving forward and tried to support our leaders as best we can. And I think I see a lot of that aspect in Brantley when she deals with people is that she tries to support those people as best as she can. And looking back, I kind of wish I would have taught her to stand up for herself because people that are civilians out there don't have the same power over you as somebody who is in the military. And I never was able to teach her the difference between the two. But she's much more of a kill 'em with kindness type attitude than out externally, but internally, she does express a lot of pain and grief and in different ways. And we notice as parents that that is something we kind of help her or want to help her like overcome. She has a hard time finding peace when people are being mean to her. So we kind of talked about like in the beginning of us being authoritarian type parents to where we kind of went into principal leading, and she's talked about how she was able to follow our examples, and she had our actions were speaking louder than just our words, and we really tried to focus on showing good examples, right? So now, as an adult, how do you feel like those lessons that you learned throughout those years? How do you feel those moments where you those not only the big moments like Walter's death, but the smaller moments when you saw us interact with people in different places that were less significant? Not the people being less significant, the moments being less significant. How do those help you? Like, how do you feel like you're better prepared as an adult today because of them? Or do you feel like you're less prepared as an adult because of them?
so it's kind of a mixed answer. So there's some things that I do feel unprepared for, which most of that is kind of on me because I never really paid attention to it. But what I will say that I lack in other places, I don't feel like I lack in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Um, I feel like I've made more meaningful connections. So, because of the principles that my parents have taught me, um, I've definitely made more meaningful connections than I have, you know, like acquainted connections, like, oh, hey, yeah, how's your daughter? Yeah, cool. like I that's just not for me. I can't do small talk. I'm not a small talk kind of person. That's one reason I struggle finding friends. But it's because I want someone that will be able to, I don't know, saying keep up feels like the wrong word, but
You want someone that you feel like actually cares about you and is
yeah,
not just there because you're convenient.
yeah, that's it. But even though it's dampened my social life a little bit, I don't feel like I'm missing anything because sometimes seeing the specific situations or like relationships that people my age get into, it's I don't know, it's just not appealing.
Yeah, I could say there's some better relationships. I do think you and Bailey has shown that you can have better relationships because, and I don't know if that's so much because of the necessary examples that we showed them. I mean, me and my wife had our struggles through our marriage too, right? The one thing we showed them is that you can persevere through a lot of things in order to like build a better relationship, and we showed them a pathway of building a better relationship with each other. But we didn't necessarily show them a great relationship. Um, but I mean, that's all part of growing, right?
Yeah.
And we grew as parents, and you guys grew as children, and we learned from each other. And you said you're unprepared for some things. Is that more like your financial you're talking about,
Oh
or
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially since I suck at math.
yeah,
Um, but I have people in my life that are willing to teach me and help me along the way. And I've already made some progress.
yeah. I think that's it's important to recognize that even when we try to teach them about that, she admits that she didn't necessarily pay attention to it, but she does know that we're here and we'll help her through it. And I think that's another important part of it, right? She knows that we are readily available when she needs us to help her along the path. And we are going to support her as an adult as she continues to grow until she feels like she's ready and she no longer needs us. And I think that just helps her have a little bit more boldness in her adulthood. Do you agree?
I think so.
And how so?
Bold in a sense where I feel like I can voice an opinion and not be worried that someone else is different because it's a different person. Expect that their opinion's going to be different.
Yeah. Any other like major values you feel like you own today because of watching or hearing or being our child? What are those major values you have?
With the values that you guys gave, like, not values, with the principles they all gave me, it kind of balled itself up into like this weird moral compass. And not even with just faith, just by, you know, feeling what is right.
Feeling what's right? Yeah.
Like, I have a very guilty conscience, and so I'm gonna do what's right, whether if it hurts me or not, or try to at least. Um,
So I will say the guilty conscience could be the the residual of our early parenting. A lot of what I grew up with when I was a child was based in shame and guilt, and I was reflecting that onto my children, especially in the very beginning. Like, you should feel shame and guilt when you do something wrong. And it took us a long time to kind of break that. And I hope that our older children don't have to live through the same things. But because of our mistakes, even at those young ages, because Brantley's always been so alert of everything else, I think she does carry some of that residual with her as she's an adult. Um, it's not that she does bad things. She actually is quite well behaved and quite a great citizen, is easier to say, right? Um, but it's hard to overcome those feelings once they've been engraved in you. Um, so some things I do notice in Brantley though, she's very heavy into integrity, right? And that's a value she has. She has a value of integrity, which has always been an important value to me. Um, would you agree?
yeah, definitely.
Integrity, right? That ability to not only just be honest, but the ability to tell the truth when it doesn't necessarily make the other people feel well about themselves. And that's part of her internal struggle because she wants to be nice to people, but at the same time, she has that compassion for people and for animals. she also has that desire to have that integrity to be able to tell him, hey, you're acting stupid, and if you continue to act stupid, bad things are going to happen. And she wrestles inside her own brain over it.
Because I
Yeah,
want to be stupid so badly.
right,
It's just hard.
right. But it's okay. It's okay because that's who she is, right? And we are what we are. We are who we are. Both things can be true. You can have that love for integrity and still be able to tell the truth, but you can also have that compassion that tells you you don't want to do anything hurtful. And they both can be big parts of your life.
Yeah, I think they're both extremely big parts.
Yeah, I would say when I think of Brantley, integrity is one that kind of sticks out as a value that she acts out on a regular basis, and compassion would be another value, right? Um, she does like feels very loyal to people too. She's a very loyal person. That's a value I see in her, and even when people are once they become her friend, even though they are maybe not acting right at that moment, she's willing to stick with them long enough to figure out if they're ever going to fix themselves.
I try.
You try. But she will not abandon people just because they've had a bad day or a bad moment or they had a bad experience together.
I wouldn't want someone to do that to me.
Right. Um, see, what other like things do you really think you value?
Being content.
Being content.
I like.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't need too much.
Yeah, she is very content. I mean, here's a young lady that always worked around the house to get her commissions and always did her chores. And she would save up money and then she'd be content with it. She wouldn't have to go out and spend her money like so many of the kids do. Is like they want to go out and spend the money. You know, there would be times where like, okay, we're going out and we're gonna buy these things, and if you have enough money, you can buy it. And she literally handed me like $300 one day to buy an Xbox because she decided that she wanted an Xbox, and it was all 50 cents at a time, like 10, a dollar, 50 cents, like a little bit of Christmas and birthday money in there, but she was just so content that she never went out and like bought candy or anything like that. She just went ahead and saved it up, and then when she wanted something, she got it. Even now with her apartment, like we had this deal while she was living with us, she would give us $10 worth a day, either helping us, which was like an hour's worth of work, or $10 in cash, and we would set that money aside for her to rent. And we thought that that was the only way she was ever going to get a down or her security deposit. Here she had hundreds of dollars already saved up too. She not only is she giving us the, about $300 a month, she was also saving up her own money. So when she was ready to move out, she already had her security deposit built up. And I think now you're working towards a car, and
Hmm.
she's doing very much to save up for that. And she's just like, I will be content with what I have right now, and I don't need the big fancy car. I just need one to do what I need to do, and she just slowly saves up for it. So I mean, that's another great value to bring forward, right? That's another one you have.
You just gotta put the stuff. You just gotta put the money. If it's physical, you gotta put it in a place where you're not gonna remember where it's at. But like it's in a safe place, like under the bed or something. And then you just gotta forget about it if it's in your bank account.
We won't talk about her cleaning the bedroom because she might have solved more of her money if she did clean her bedroom more often.
Oh yeah, no, it was bad.
So as we wrap up here, I think it's we'll recap real quick. We kind of talked about like what it was like when we were first parents and how our authoritarian style, even as an adult, kind of reflects a little bit back on the whole situation or on our whole life. Um, but also how we kind of moved forward into a principle driven or principle purpose driven type parenting where we spend a lot of time listening and trying to teach them like ways to like handle situations themselves um, and there's a lot of stories out there that we're not going to share today that I can honestly say I was proud of Brantley and the way she thought through it and she handled her situations. Um, we started building kids that we wanted to help critical think, and we taught them things like how to recognize fallacies and how to approach thought processes. I mean, one game we can kind of talk about, probably not today so much, but like my world was a
Oh yeah.
my world was a game about critical thinking, and then there was also like Um, there it was.
Oh yeah.
There it was. Game was about being understanding of how a story can like build up and the critical thinking that goes into building a good story, but it's a little goofy at the same time.
Hmm.
Like, so there's a lot of aspects that we try to teach our children to be like creative and not always um, face challenges the same way and then being frustrated when you don't get it, but to find ways around those challenges. And Brantley's done a great job of facing the challenges she's had to face. She's needed help through the process, but she's reached out and gotten help when she needed help. And I think that another important lesson to teach our children is that you're going to need help throughout life. You just got to be ready to go out and find it when you need it. Too many people try to white knuckle their way through life and they try to do it all by themselves and they just struggle when they could have a much better, efficient, or effective life by just simply asking for help when they need it. And I think that's something that Brantley's really gotten better at too. So, is there anything you would like to share with for the end of the video?
Thanks for watching. Always be nice. Always wash your underwear. I don't know.
And that's her exit for this time. Thank you for watching us. If you lasted this long to the video, you know, I got a lot of great stuff on trying to teach fathers how to be, trying to just support fathers, right?
Hmm.
I'm one dad out here trying to support all dads by providing them with videos that they can watch on their own time and when they're ready to learn. And I'm trying to teach, I'm trying to build a better future just by teaching what I've learned.